Hi guys, the march to Rejoin took place on Saturday. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend, but some amazing people spoke to the crowds that attended. While the BBC, ITV and Channel 4, it seems, couldn't be bothered to turn up, GB News did send somebody. I'll leave a link to the hacked up clip that was posted on social media where, through heavy editing, they tried to make some of the people on the march look stupid. They even had a music track to go with it. But at no point did they interview the organiser or any of the main speakers, just half a dozen selected marchers. Also, the reporter didn't seem to present himself as a GB News reporter, which I believe is dishonest. Anyway, the journalist returned to the safety of his GB News studio to deliver this advice to Remoaners.
Look, in a week where Keir Starmer's been cozying up to Emmanuel Macron in France in a shady deal to betray 17.4 million Brexit voters.
Okay, this has to be comedy, this has to be satire, this has to be parody, this can't be serious. No serious person would say that, no journalist would say that. Why am I saying that? Because if Keir Starmer is cozying up to the EU, how is that a Brexit betrayal? Because even Nigel Farage has said on a number of occasions, we want to have a good relationship with the EU. We just don't want to be part of it. Now, if this is if it's in the minds of the Brexiteers that, well, if we're cozying up to the EU, that means we're going to rejoin the single market. Okay, well, if that is your position, I don't believe that's the case. I've explained before why it's not the case. But if Brexiteers believe this is the case, that Keir Starmer wants to rejoin the single market, and that's a Brexit betrayal, well, that doesn't make any sense either, because in 2015, Daniel Hannan, a member of the House of Lords now, and a Brexiteer still, said that no one was talking about leaving the single market. It didn't appear on the ballot, didn't say leave the single market. No, it was just about the EU. So people didn't know what they were voting for. Literally didn't know what they were voting for, because no one voted to leave the single market. Brexiteers were saying we're not going to leave the single market. Like, even Nigel Farage was talking about having a deal where Britain would be a member of the single market in some form. So it's not a Brexit betrayal to have a better relationship with the EU, because Nigel Farage himself said that. And it's not a Brexit betrayal if Britain wants to rejoin, or at least tries to rejoin the single market. Because Brexiteers were saying, yes, we want to be part of the single market. Even some high-profile Brexiteers said, we'd actually prefer to be part of the single market. We don't want to be part of the EU. So it's not a betrayal. Once again, this has to be comedy or parody or just rubbish.
A meeting, by the way, brokered by the bad smell that won't go away, Tony Blair. These losers in London today saw fit to complain about a vote that took place 7 years ago.
Okay. They're not complaining about the vote. They're complaining about the consequences of the vote. They're complaining about the lies that they were told. People were told, both people who campaigned to remain, voted to remain, and also people who voted Brexit but now realize that they had been conned. They're complaining about the consequences. Now, I have said before, I don't think there should have been a referendum. This should have been a political decision taken in Parliament, because politicians should be, advised on these things. They should understand how the EU works, and they are the ones who should be making the decision, not offloading this onto the public, who obviously didn't know what they were voting for.
All they could complain about is airport queues. I haven't seen any of those, by the way. I think they're a myth.
Once again, this has to be parody. Airport queues, I haven't seen any. They must be a myth. Like, he didn't actually present any evidence to counter the claim. It's not like he said, well, I have been abroad on a number of occasions as a journalist and I have never seen any of this. I've spoken to people who work in the airport and they don't have any evidence to back up these claims of queues at the airport. No, it's just, I don't believe it. I don't think this guy has been abroad, or if he has, he's been dishonest. Of course there are queues. Now, are there queues all the time? No, depending on how busy the airport is and the time of year. Queues will be bigger and queues will be smaller, but there are queues. You can find ample images online. You can interview people who travel to the continent on a daily basis, and they will point it out that there are queues. But GB News don't care about that.
And bizarrely, how their tea cloths from Germany weren't getting delivered because of random custom charges. Now, look, my point...
But you're not actually countering that. It's like, well, people are complaining about their tea cloths or whatever. What he's talking about here is customs duties. If an exporter in the EU wants to sell things to the UK, they have to carry out all this paperwork, and it's a cost. The same for the UK. If they want to export things into the single market, they have to complete a lot of paperwork, including veterinary certificates in some cases. This is a cost. This is extra paperwork. This is the reality of being a third country. Like, he's waving this away as some pointless issue or nothing really to be concerned about. Tell that to British businesses who are now losing trade on the continent in the EU because of the third country status. And I've covered it before on the channel, where there are businesses in the European Union where as soon as they hear that somebody at a trade fair is from Britain, they say, sorry, we can't be bothered. It's too much hassle. We love your products. We'd love to do trade with you. We'd love to do business with you, but we can't be, it's too much hassle. It's too much cost. Sorry, we have to go with a supplier within the EU.
Is you've lost the vote. We're not going back into the EU.
Yes, Britain will rejoin the EU. In what form, we don't know. And when, we don't know. Because if the UK continues to diverge on EU standards, the paperwork will increase. If the paperwork and the costs increase, the pressure on politicians to do something about it will increase as well. And, you know, this guy hasn't presented any Brexit benefits. Nobody has presented any Brexit benefits. So to stay out, there must be some benefit. Well, trade deals with Mexico, which are worth about £50 million over 10 years, or CPTPP, which will add 0.08% to GDP over 10 years, or something like that. They're not benefits. We can get all this hormone-treated meat from Brazil, or we can have, low-quality food from Australia. These are not benefits. We can destroy our own agriculture sector. These are not benefits. There are no benefits. So eventually, the public are already on board, but eventually the politicians will get on board because they will see the way the wind is blowing. And they will say, yes, we have to be back in the European Union.
Stand by democracy and get on board with Brexit. Because
I've never understood this argument. Oh, it's democracy. Jacob Rees-Mogg, before the Brexit vote, said there should be a second referendum, a referendum on the Brexit vote, on the Brexit deal, I should say. So Jacob Rees-Mogg was for more democracy. Of course, he changed his tune when the vote came in. No, we just want one vote. We don't want another one. How is another vote not more democracy? Like, as I said at the beginning, and I've laid my cards on the table, I'm against the idea of having referendum. This should be a vote in Parliament. But if Brexiteers say it was a democratic vote, then why not have another one? If people have changed their minds. People change their minds when it comes to political parties, and they're allowed to. You don't just vote for one party and then they stay in power for the rest of time. I know it feels like that with the Conservatives, but you should be allowed to change your vote, change your idea, especially as people were lied to. People were told, no one's talking about leaving the single market. Like, this is my question to Brexiteers. If people didn't know what they voted for, then how is it less democracy giving people another vote?
At the moment, Brexit's not been allowed to get started. It's been blocked.
Sorry to keep interrupting. Brexit has not been allowed to get started. I thought Boris Johnson got Brexit done.
To every turn by the Civil Service, politicians.
The Civil Service. And here we have it. This has to be parody. The Civil Service. Not the Civil Service, but the snivel, as in snivelling civil service. The crying civil service. You know, is he gaslighting? Is he insulting his viewers here? Pretending to be serious when it's just all a big joke?
The courts and crybaby losers like these. So get on board with Brexit, Remoaners. It's not changing. Get Britain booming again.
booming. Like what? Before before Brexit, the economy was doing quite well. So what? Get Britain booming how? If British business can't access the workers they need, how will they get access to the workers they need? If they need to attract investment, how will that happen? Just believe in it, I presume. That was the mantra during 2020, believe in Brexit. If people believe enough, it will succeed. Sorry this went on for so long, but I think I had to respond to it. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.